Alrighty, hello and welcome to Ender 666's Ezreal build guide for Season 8. In this build I'm going to be going over all aspects of building Ezreal, from runes to items. If you'd like to click to a specific section, feel free to click on a chapter title. Otherwise, here we go. So this is the rune page that I run on almost every single game on Ezreal. Most of these choices are uncontroversial, but I'll go through all of them. Klepto is your keystone every single game. There's other options, but they're not serious and they shouldn't be considered in ranked. Klepto doesn't even really need to be gone into because Ezreal's so obviously good at using Klepto. Free boots or free boots, there's no other good options on this tier. Stopwatch has been nerfed too many times to really consider. Ezreal loves the boots. You could skip this very situationally if you're terrified of a blitz and you suck. Something like that, but no. You've got your E, Ezreal doesn't need boots early. The 300 gold is really nice. Tier 2, biscuits or futures. I go biscuits every game. It's really good on Ezreal. The mana, the regen is great, and the permanent max mana is also great. Futures market is there if you know how to use it, and you see the value. Like, ensuring you can get tier first back if you really suck, but... I mean, if you're literally getting boosted, I don't know. I wouldn't get it, ever. But if you like futures, it's there. Cosmic or Cosmic, there's no other good options to even consider there. Second tree. Precision is somewhat popular, but it doesn't win as much on op.gg. I don't see pros taking it very often, and I never take it myself. If you were to take it, these are your three minor keystone options really to consider. Maybe something else, but no, it's these three basically. Triumph's nice for obvious reasons. Just health, free health when you kill people. Coup de grace, obviously nice. Legend or Alacrity I wouldn't take, but I mean Ezreal just doesn't benefit from attack speed nearly as much as other ADCs. But it is there, and some people take it. Sorcery options. I always take Mana Flow Bandit and Transcendence. I like them both very, very much in Ezreal. Mana Flow Bandit particularly, I see almost everyone take on op.gg. It's great on Ezreal for obvious reasons. Don't get bad trades just for the sake of stacking it, because I sometimes do have an itch to stack it as soon as the proc is up, but you don't need to rush with Ezreal, you'll get them soon enough. Transcendence is my choice for the second one. That's less popular. Certainly most people would probably take Gathering Storm or Scorch, but I find the 10% CDR gets you to 45%, whereas if you take these options, generally you're going to be sitting at 35%, if not all game, but at least for a long time, and I like 45%, man. I like casting my Ezreal spells even more often, but those options are there. And then the other reason I take Transcendence is I like getting a lot of CDR items, particularly to finish out my build after the core, so particularly with the second tier meta, that's 20% CDR in Archangels or Seraphs, and then you start turning that into AD at pretty efficient ratios. That's why I take Transcendence. For Gathering Storm is good, super late game, but you don't want to go there as Ezreal because you're going to fall off no matter what. In hyper late game, they've probably got Gathering Storm as well, and they're playing another ADC. There's very few that Ezreal outscales, and those you probably want to pick these to beat like Lucian early. So grab Transcendence anyway. You're stronger at 10 minutes. Way stronger than getting Gathering Storm. Scorch is there if you want to all-in early. You really want to prioritize early game. It's pretty nice damage on Ezreal. You can obviously proc it, but it just falls off way more than these two. And yeah, not optimal in my opinion. That concludes our runes discussion, so we'll move on to items. This is a sample of the full build that I'd be going most games. Starting items, you want to get Doran's Blade and Health Pot and Ward almost every game, 99% for me. They're just great items for Ezreal. Other options, Doran's Shield I think is not optimal on Ezreal simply because you're not outscaling. I pick Doran's Shield when I'm sacrificing lane pressure, like putting pressure on them to have less pressure on me and get to late game and get to my items. But Ezreal really likes trading early game, like your strong poke, you got your Q, you want to get ahead of them, basically, and Doran's Shield's not the best at doing that. There's, against some kind of like Lucian Nightmare poke combo, consider it, but not most games, certainly. Doran's Ring is there if you really love the mana, but Mana Flow Band is so much mana if you're hitting any of your spells at all, and then you're buying tier really early, so I don't think it's great. I only get that on Jhin really. Longsword is there if you want to be hyper aggressive, and like if you're duo with your support, maybe consider that. You're against a team full of hyper carries, or particularly as hyper carries bot lane, maybe grab Longsword. Probably want to get free pots with that unless you're going like a Sonus or Arca, something you can maybe go for refillable, but Doran's Blade, definitely 99% of games plus. Cull, never, no, never buy a Cull on Ezreal in my opinion. Certainly not starting because you're sacrificing too much lane pressure, but then never at any point in the game because you want to rush your first two items super hard. They're really important, so Cull's going to delay them. First back, I've made a little pyramid of priority of what I want first back. I want tier almost every single game first back. You want to delay backing for 750 gold if you have to. It's like a lot of situations. Take some pain in order to do that. Doesn't mean you have to rush to back as soon as you get 750 gold. I see some worse Ezreals that will do that. Like no matter what the situation, they'll just back with 750. But no, a lot of games you can push your lead. You can push yourself further ahead. It's not that painful if you delay first back and grab tier plus any of these bottom tier items are really nice to grab with it. And if you are winning and you get back with 1800 gold, grab a Sheen as well, grab a pickaxe as well. But definitely back first back tier. Second back tier sucks. Like your stacking is going to be so delayed. It's tempting to buy a Sheen as your first back situationally, but you're very all in. If you don't secure kills with that Sheen, which is not that big of a power spike, you've delayed your tier power spike, you've delayed your mirror mana, and that's a bigger power spike in my opinion. It's more important to Ezreal. So always tier, first back, and then these two if you've got a lot of gold somehow, these three if you've got a little. Refillable, tread lightly, because sometimes you can be wasting your gold there. Other games though, it can be really valuable, so if you're against poke, if you don't have a healing support, consider buying that with extra gold. First items, Mana Moon is generally best to finish before either of these, whichever you choose. You obviously choose one. Situationally, you'd grab one of these first, depending on gold. If you're really rich, you could finish Triforce. Like super rich, like you're fed as hell and you haven't got that many tier stacks, maybe finish this. Complete opposite, maybe rush Iceborn if you're terrified of like AD people coming to get you. Most games you just grab the Sheen, you go tier, grab the Sheen, and then finish Mana Moon though. Now the choice between Triforce and Iceborn is quite considered, so I've made its own slide. I've got some pointers here. So Iceborn, they've got physical damage, obviously it's got armor on it. They've got champs to slow, so like melee people that are running that don't have dashes or blinks, things like an Udi's got to run. If you can think you can actually slow him effectively, you've got other slows to stack on him. Like a Singe, just really, really good to hit with Iceborn. Targets like that, you suck. Seriously though, if you are one of the weaker players on your team and you've identified that, you're going to give them the most impact by hitting Iceborn Gauntlet procs. Like if you're underfarmed as your only item, you actually add a lot of value by slowing people with your Ezreal Qs. You can do that really consistently. So if your teammates are going to carry you, buying this item actually really helps you win the game, basically. And just accepting that you suck in that game, your teammates are more fed for whatever reason. It might be just they got camped, whatever. Buy Iceborn Gauntlet and help your teammates carry you. That's a really effective strategy in Ezreal. And then finally, I suck at ADC. If you're not an ADC main and you're not as good at kiting, like if you mostly play melee champs but you're playing Ezreal for fun, Iceborn Gauntlet's more consistent because it's going to add the slow. You don't have the attack speed of Triforce, you just don't have to worry about kiting as fast, kiting as often. You can focus on hitting your spells. Triforce, you need to do as much damage as possible. It flat out has more damage, obviously, than Iceborn. Fights will be fast. It does its damage faster too, because like over longer trades, multiple Iceborn procs, you've slowed people, you've kept them in range, you're getting effective damage. But Triforce, if it's like a 5-second fight, obviously you hit 3 Triforce procs. The damage difference there is going to be really noticeable. So if there's fast fights like the low health pool champions, no shields, things like that, Triforce is going to be better. Not much chance to poke, so like if they somehow have an out poke on your comp, or you have no one else on your team is any good at poking at all, so you'll be poking by yourself, maybe don't bother even trying as much, grab Triforce, that sort of thing. And if you're a cool and tough guy, obviously get Triforce. No question. Boots, Lucidity used to be the only choice on Ezreal pretty much, but the second tier, which I'm going to discuss pretty soon, that opens up other options since you're getting 20% from Archangels or Seraphs. And if you don't have Transcendence, then Lucidity is probably strictly don't want to take, because then you're going to be wasting the CDR at some point when you've finished your Archangels. So Berserker's Greaves would be the next most obvious choice then. I take Transcendence and I'll still take Lucidity because I like the 10% summoner and it's 11 AD if you're over the cap for CDR, which I think is pretty efficient on Ezreal compared to 35% attack speed, but it's certainly not wasted on Ezreal. And if you've got Triforce, if you're an ADC main, maybe not an Ezreal main, but you want to attack speed, you want to attack a lot. If you're reckless, yeah, grab Berserker's Greaves. These three situational tabbies speak for themselves against all AD. Um, Mercury is certainly good if they've got a lot of hard CC, but Ezreal is one of the best ADCs at avoiding CC, obviously, so relatively rarely do you want that. And Swifties also rarely, because you can dodge a lot of slows. But, you know, they've got a Fed Nasus coming to get you. Consider it. Third item, so the new meta that's developed has been to get a second tier, and I think it's just amazing, because the extra mana pool just lets you spam spells forever, and goodness me, man, when you're at 20 minutes and you've got that third tier, that means second tier and mirror mana completes, holy crap, it's hitting like a truck. The mirror mana on hit, because of all the mana you're getting. Second tier stacks alongside your mana moon, so it's pretty efficient. But I don't recommend finishing the Archangels as your third item. I recommend buying the second tier and then finishing Blade. Now, Blade's always been your third item on Ezreal. It speaks for itself. Just gives Ezreal everything he needs in a third item. And the on-hit is great by then. Like, they're building more health, so it's going to get better and better. Situationally, you could grab Archangels, but the problem is, like, it's not going to transform for quite a while. I don't love Archangels. CDR is good if you've not bought Lucidity boots, for example. The CDR is extra good to get you to the cap. Seraph's is amazing once it's finished, but buying Archangel doesn't make it transform any faster compared to, like, Mana Moon. It allows you to auto attack to transform it, so that's why you rush that item compared to rushing Archangels. I think Blade's better, but in any case, whichever you grab third, grab the other one fourth, no question. Those are your four items on Ezreal every single game. Every single game you complete these four items, basically. There's 0.1% of games would have comps that maybe make you consider other things. The only other item you consider grabbing before finishing those four would be a QSS, but unless you're super the only threat on your team and therefore every CC is being thrown at you, then maybe get QSS. Outside of that, though, you're playing Ezreal, man. Come on, like, what are you doing with your life? You can dodge CC, you don't need it. You're a real man, so don't rush that. But to fill out your build, it's an option against lots of hard CC. And again, if you're the only carry or the only effective threat, definitely consider it. These are some options for regen. I'm not entirely sure which is better. I tend towards Death's Dance, particularly as a Transcendence player. It's going to give me an extra 11 AD if I've already got the cap, so that's even more damage. Hextech's there if you need to heal from your ulti and your E, but do you really need that compared to even more Q damage? I think is better. Last Whisper against lots of armor and then get the appropriate upgrade. Certainly that's, in certain games, situationally that's an excellent pickup. In other situations where they don't have any tanks, I'll see people just buy Last Whispers anyway, and if there's no armor there, it's not an efficient item at all. So definitely situational, but a lot of situations. Great item. More also a great item against really AP heavy lineups or people that can do effective damage to you, but consider also Ezreal should dodge a lot of skill shots. So only against teams that are going to land the magic damage on you no matter what. Duskblade is an excellent pick, and it's generally what I like to get. Ezreal procs it really effectively at the start of fights. It's just a really tasty add-on to your first Q when you come into Vision. The CDR is there. If you don't have Transcendence, gets you to 40%, or if you have Transcendence, it's even more AD. And the lethality is really nice. Applies on your Q and all of your auto attacks. Really strong. Black Cleaver's there if your team's doing all AD maybe. 20% CDR is great if you've got Transcendence. 22 AD, very efficient. So also and a bit of health doesn't hurt either. That concludes your full build. So to grab these to finish out your build, but also just consider that your power spike is going to be particularly your third item, but I think with the new 2-tier build, Ezreal is power spiked all the way out to 4 items as well. I think Seraph's embrace transforming, having that huge shield because you've got so much mana at that point, particularly if you've got Iceborn as well, it's an insane amount of mana, over 4k. The Seraph shield's massive, your mirror mana procs are massive. It's a really strong power spike, but your next items are not going to add nearly as much impact. So just play the game assuming you're going to fall off, thinking you've got to get stuff done then and there. You can't expect to keep scaling up because Ezreal just doesn't. But that's your full build. Cheesy options, you got these three. Dark Harvest is just funny, and if you jungle Ezreal, certainly I think it's probably the best option, but I never play him jungle. For ADC it's a terrible option. It's only for normal games and LoLs. Airy, I used to play this a little bit after some of the Klepto nerfs, but no. Gives you some poke in lane, it's maybe good for 5 minutes, and then it's just falling off in effectiveness compared to if you run Klepto. So, like, outside of desperation, everyone in your team's hyper early, gotta go faster, faster, don't pick that. Static Shiv's funny because it procs in your Q if you've got Dark Harvest, do huge one-shots, but no, not consistent. Crit, Ezreal doesn't want crit because his Qs can't actually crit. You can only apply Static Shiv. That concludes the video, guys. Not the most professional, but I hope it's been a helpful resource. I'm definitely going to be making more Ezreal content in the future. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see. I'm thinking about making some gameplay to accompany this, showing off different items in the build. Also thinking about just making more content for Ezreal, showing off some ability combos. Particularly want to make a video on WE combo, it's very important, and I see Ezreal's not do that a lot, so look for that one in future. I'll reply to all of your comments and subscribe if you want to look forward to seeing those new videos. Thanks.